Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I'm your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash. Today is Monday, November 28th, 2022, and I'm here this afternoon to talk to you guys about tonight's 10-game NBA slate. Unfortunately, Coach wasn't able to make it today. He was having some technical difficulties with his internet connection, but he should be back tomorrow. I think him and Deb are going to be doing the podcast tomorrow, so we'll have Coach on here for you guys again soon. So I will be riding solo today. If you're new to the channel, if you would hit the like button and then hit subscribe. And then once you've done those two things, hit the alarm bell. That will let you know when the newest podcast is being recorded live. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into tonight's 10-game NBA slate. The first game that we have on this slate is the Atlanta Hawks at the Philadelphia 76ers. Tip-off time of 7 p.m. Eastern. My favorite plays from this game from the Atlanta side are going to be DeJounte Murray. He's 8,900 on DraftKings, 9,100 on FanDuel, $38 on Yahoo. And then a guy that I know Coach has been, pretty down on from time to time this year, but Clint Capella is possibly, going to be ruled out of this game. He's listed as questionable, and if he is, I do like John Collins. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel, $20 on Yahoo. Had his best game of the year against Miami, who's been pretty tough against bigs. So I like the matchup for him here, especially if Embiid's ruled out. But either way, I think he's a solid play. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel, and only $20 on Yahoo. From the 76ers, like I said, we'll have to see if Embiid plays, but if he does, he's below 11K on DraftKings at 10.8. He's 11.4 on FanDuel, so pretty pricey over there, and then $51 on Yahoo. But he did have 71.5 DraftKings points the last time he faced Atlanta. So especially if Capella's out, I think this would be a really good spot for Embiid. Probably, my top play on the slate if he plays. If Embiid is out, I do like Tobias Harris again. He's been putting up some good numbers while Embiid's been out. He's 7,900 on DraftKings, only 6,800 on FanDuel. Very solid price over there, and $28 on Yahoo. So if Embiid's out, I definitely like Tobias Harris. Then we have the always popular, while Tyrese Maxey is out, Shake Milton. He's 6,500 on both DraftKings and FanDuel, and $24 on Yahoo. If Embiid does sit, Paul Reed is in play. He's 4,600 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel, and $16 on Yahoo. That's once again only if Embiid is out would I go to Paul Reed. But those are my favorite plays from that game. The second game we have on this slate is the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Washington Wizards. It also has a tip-off time of 7 p.m. Eastern. My favorite play from this game from the Timberwolves is going to be Karl Anthony Towns. He's 9,100 on DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel, $39 on Yahoo. He scored 50-plus fantasy points in 8 of his last 9 games against the Wizards. He's had 2 60-plus fantasy point games and even a 70 fantasy point game against the Wizards. So a lot of good history here for Towns. It's a really good matchup for him, so I like him a lot in this game. Jaden McDaniels was ruled out for Minnesota, so you could look at Kyle Anderson as a value play. He's 3,900 on DraftKings, 4,300 on FanDuel, $11 on Yahoo. So I definitely like slow-mo in this game as a value play. For the Wizards, Bradley Beal has looked better of late. He's 8,700 on DraftKings, 8,400 on FanDuel, $32 on Yahoo. And then the other point guard / shooting guard for the Wizards is Monte Morris. I like him a little bit too. Minnesota's allowed the third most fantasy points to point guards. He's 4,900 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel, and $15 on Yahoo. And then with Rui Hachimura still out, you still have Deni Avdija. He's 4,800 on DraftKings, 4,400 on FanDuel, and $16 on Yahoo. So that would be my favorite plays on the Washington side. Let me go ahead and see if we've got any questions. Everyone, can you guys see me well? I know we had that issue when I started this just a few minutes ago, so I just want to make sure everything is running smooth. The next game we have is the Charlotte Hornets at the Boston Celtics with a 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time. LaMelo Ball is still out for Charlotte, as is Gordon Hayward, Cody Martin, and Dennis Smith Jr. Those guys are all out. And then for the Celtics, it looks like Jaylen Brown's going to be a game time decision. Gallinari, Horford, and Williams are all out. So we do have some value for Boston that I think is in play. And then Jason Tatum would be, one of the top plays on the slate if Jaylen Brown is ruled out. So you have also for the Hornets, my favorite play would be Terry Rozier. It is a revenge game for him going back to Boston. He's 7,700 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel, 31 on Yahoo. And with Dennis Smith Jr. and LaMelo Ball both out, he's going to get a ton of usage at the point guard spot. So I like him a lot for Charlotte. Like I said, if Jaylen Brown is ruled out, he's listed as questionable. Jason Tatum, he's one of the top players in the NBA right now this year. He's 10-6 on DraftKings. He's 9,900 on FanDuel. I think that's the first time I've seen him below 10K in a while on FanDuel, so I like that price a lot. And $50 on Yahoo. So if Jaylen Brown plays, Tatum's still in play, but he's not, one of my top plays on the slate like he is if Brown's ruled out. I also like Malcolm Brogdon from this game. He's 5,100 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel, $18 on Yahoo. And then you have a super cheap value play here with Luke Cornett with Horford out. He's 3,400 on DraftKings, 3,800 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. Let me check and see if we got any questions here. Any thoughts on Turner and Hield showcasing for the Lakers? Yeah, we'll take a look at that more in depth later in the show. But I think they could both be in play, depending on if Anthony Davis plays. If Anthony Davis plays, then I'm probably not going to be as high on Turner. The next game we have the Orlando Magic at the Brooklyn Nets. It starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern as well. We have a ton of injuries for Orlando. Mo Bamba is questionable, as is Chuma Okeke. Cole Anthony is out. Wendell Carter Jr. is out. Markelle Fultz is out. And then, of course, Terrence Ross and Jonathan Isaac are out, and Jalen Suggs is out. So a lot of value on the Orlando side. Not so much on Brooklyn. Pretty much, all their guys are playing in this game, so they're pretty healthy right now. For my favorite plays, I like Bol. He's 7,300 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel, $26 on Yahoo with Wendell Carter Jr. out. He's been getting a ton of usage. Hopefully Chuma Okeke would be ruled out, and that'll help Bol as well. The other value play you have here with Carter out is Mo Wagner. He's been getting decent minutes lately. He's 4,400 on DraftKings, 4,200 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. And then there's quite a bit of value here. So you also have Gary Harris at 3,900 on DraftKings, 3,600 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo, and RJ Hampton at 3,500 on DraftKings, 3,800 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo. So if you need some value, this is a spot where you can get it. 1 to 2 guys for sure out of the 3 that I just mentioned you can look at for value. My favorite personally would probably be Gary Harris. He's been giving us close to 10x value for his price. So I like him in the value spot here for Orlando. Kyrie Irving is my top play for the Nets, actually, more so than Kevin Durant, because the last time he faced Orlando, he had 87 DraftKings points. He's had 50 plus in his last 3 games against Orlando. He's 8,400 on DraftKings, 8,100 on FanDuel, $35 on Yahoo. So he is considerably cheaper than Kevin Durant, and he's put up even better numbers than Durant has in this matchup of late. I still like Ben Simmons. He's 7,100 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel, $28 on Yahoo. And then Nicholas Claxton is also in play for me from Brooklyn. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel, and $22 on Yahoo. Orlando's allowed the 7th most fantasy points to centers, so it's a pretty favorable matchup for Nicholas Claxton. And let's go ahead and take a look now at the ownership, so we can kind of see where some of these guys that I've been recommending are standing right now. Does anyone have any questions while we're looking at that? I don't see any as of now. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with DraftKings. On DraftKings, the top projected owned players, number 1 right now at 44.5% is Jose Alvarado. Actually, he's 4,300. Then Jalen Noel is at 32.6, Zion Williamson at 31.5, and Trey Murphy at 4,600 at 29.3. So the New Orleans Pelicans have 3 of the top 4 projected owned players on DraftKings. Actually, 4 of the top 5, looks like, or 5 of the top 6, excuse me, because you have Herbert Jones. He's 23.2% projected ownership. Terry Rozier, who I mentioned in that revenge game in Boston, 18.4. Evan Mobley, 17.3, or 18.3, excuse me. Bruce Brown at 17.3. Andre Drummond is getting some ownership. He's 3,700 on DraftKings. He's 16.7% projected owned. And then D'Angelo Russell, 6,200. He's 16.6. Rudy Gobert right behind him at 16.3. So those are the top projected owned players on DraftKings. And then over on FanDuel, once again, we have Jose Alvarado, number 1 at 42%. He's actually tied with Trey Murphy. They're both at 42% right now, projected ownership. Then we have Zion Williamson at 35.9, Herb Jones at 29.9, D'Anthony Melton at 26.5, Kelly Olynyk at 25.9, Jordan Clarkson at 24.9, Denny Avdia 24.7, Zach LaVine 24.3, and Bruce Brown at 23.3. So very similar ownership so far on DraftKings and FanDuel. Let's go ahead and take a look at Yahoo. Once again, we have Jose Alvarado, but wow, 64.4% projected ownership, guys. He's only $12, but that is super high. I wouldn't mind fading him in a GPP for another value play for sure. Right after him, we have Trey Murphy at 56% projected ownership on Yahoo at $11. Then Zion Williamson at $34 at 37.6. Jonas Valanciunas, 24%. So you can see there's just a ton of ownership coming in for the Pelicans. Herbert Jones at 21.4. Zach LaVine at 21, Evan Mobley 20.8, Kyle Kuzma at 20.2, and then we have a tie with Jordan Clarkson and Cameron Payne at 19.2%. So the New Orleans Pelicans are definitely the highest projected owned team on this slate, so that's pretty interesting. Against Oklahoma City, I think that game could actually be a blowout, so we'll have to keep a look and see what the injury report is. I know CJ McCollum's out, but, you know, with Zion Williamson and all the guys that are on New Orleans right now, I just think that game could get a little bit out of hand. So we'll have to see what happens there. But pretty interesting ownership, very high for the Pelicans. The next game we have on the slate is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Toronto Raptors. That game is going to tip off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Karis LeVert is listed as questionable. Jared Allen is out. Kevin Love is out. Ricky Rubio is out. Lamar Stevens is out. And Dwayne Windler is also out. So quite a few guys out for Cleveland. Same thing with Toronto. They have quite a bit of injury news as well. Delano Banton is questionable. Same thing with Scotty Barnes and Siakam. Those 3 are all questionable. So that'll be key to this slate, what Toronto does with their players on the injury report, and will definitely shape this slate for me. So for my top plays on the Cleveland side, I like Donovan Mitchell. He's 9,000 on DraftKings and FanDuel, $38 on Yahoo. Toronto's allowed the 6th most fantasy points to shooting guards, and he's really, at this moment anyway, he's really the only play that I like for Cleveland. On Toronto, the way things currently sit, which, like I said, we'll have to see where the news goes, but I like OG Anunoby. He's 8,000 on DraftKings and FanDuel, $34 on Yahoo. Chris Boucher, if Barnes and Siakam are out, he's in play again. He's 6,100 on DraftKings, 6,000 on FanDuel, and $21 on Yahoo. Then if those same 2, Barnes and Siakam, are out, you have a value play in Juancho Hernangomez. He's 3,800 on DraftKings, 4,000 on FanDuel, and min price at $10 on Yahoo. So we'll have to see what happens with Barnes and Siakam, but those would be my plays if those guys are out once again. All right, just checking the chat real quick, see if we had any more questions. Doesn't look like it, so we'll go on to the next game. And this is the most, by far at this point, projected to own game on the slate. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the New Orleans Pelicans. This game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. New Orleans is favored by 5.5. It has a 232 over/under. Looks like Muscala is out for Oklahoma City. That's the only injury I see there. And then for the Pelicans, you have Najee Marshall questionable, Larry Nance questionable, Brandon Ingram questionable, EJ Liddell out, and CJ McCollum out. So those are the key pieces that we'll want to keep an eye on of news for the Pelicans. And looks like the Thunder are pretty much going to be intact for tonight. So the only play I really like on the Thunder in this game is SGA. He's 10,500 on DraftKings, 10.6 on FanDuel, and 49 on Yahoo. Don't have any problem with him, using him tonight. But he's really the only player from Oklahoma City that I'm feeling pretty confident in. For the Pelicans, it's a little bit of a different story, and the ownership is really high. So that's definitely something I'm going to be considering, especially in tournaments. But, for cash single entries, I think these players, are all deserving of ownership. Zion Williamson is 7,900 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel, $34 on Yahoo. He's had 40 plus in 3 of his last 4 games against the Thunder. And of course, McCollum is out and Ingram is questionable. So looks like Williams should be getting a lot of usage tonight. So that's why he's one of the highest owned players on the slate. Jonas Valanciunas, I like in this matchup. He's 5,900 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo. And then Devontae Graham, if he starts, he's a play for me as a value play. He's 3,600 on DraftKings, 3,500 on FanDuel, $11 on Yahoo. And honestly, I wasn't even on Jose Alvarado. I don't think he's a bad play, but his ownership is pretty surprising to me. So I wasn't personally on him, but I might get to him, especially in cash and single entry. The next game we have is the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. For Houston, Jayshawn Tate is out. And then for Denver, we have Bones Highland questionable and Michael Porter Jr. questionable. Gillespie and Jeff Green are still out. Denver's 11-point favorite. I believe that's the biggest favorite on this slate by far. And then it has a 228.5 over under. So that's definitely a concern, the blowout risk here. I do like the Nuggets in this matchup. As far as the DFS perspective, don't really like any of Houston. Jokic, of course, is always in play. He's 11-4 on DraftKings, 11-2 on FanDuel, 53 on Yahoo. Kind of a tournament pivot from Embiid if Embiid plays because, he's a little bit more expensive than Embiid. So I like Jokic in this matchup if it stays close enough. Aaron Gordon has been playing lights out. He's had 50-plus fantasy points in his last 2 games, and Houston's allowed the 8th most fantasy points to power forwards. So I like the matchup for him. He's 6,300 on both DraftKings and FanDuel, $26 on Yahoo. So definitely like Aaron Gordon here. Jamal Murray has 7,000 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel, 26 on Yahoo. He's a great GPP option as a pivot to Shake Milton for me. Houston has allowed the most fantasy points to point guards this year. So this should be a really good matchup for him. And then I still like Bruce Brown. He's, kind of a mid-level play. He's 5,800 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel, and $22 on Yahoo. So check to see the chat. Still more, no more questions. The next game we have on this slate is the Chicago Bulls at the Utah Jazz. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Alex Caruso is a game time decision, and Lonzo Ball is out for Chicago. And then for Utah, Lauri Markkanen, who I really like, is questionable. It's a revenge game for him, but he's questionable. Bolmaro, Conley, Gay, and Juzang are all out. Utah is favored by 2 in this game. It has a 236 over-under, which I believe is the highest of the night. Let me double check. Yeah, it is. It's the highest over-under on the night. And there's a few plays on both sides that I like. My favorite play from the Bulls is Vucevic. He's 7,400 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel, $30 on Yahoo. Utah's allowed the second most fantasy points to centers. And Vucevic has been playing really well lately. He had a huge game the other day in Milwaukee against my Bucks. So I really like Vucevic in this matchup. I also like Zach LaVine at 7,200 on DraftKings. He's only 6,700 on FanDuel. So that feels like a really good price. Too cheap for me not to go there. So yeah, 6,700 on FanDuel. That's pretty much a must play on that site for me. And then $26 on Yahoo. For Utah, like I said, I like Lauri Markkanen if he plays in this revenge game against his old team in the Bulls. He's 8,100 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel, $30 on Yahoo. I still like Malik Beasley, who Coach and I have been playing quite a bit. He's 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, $17 on Yahoo. And then Colin Sexton, with Conley still out, is still in play, 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo. The next game is the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. It is at 10 p.m. Eastern. Phoenix is favored by 1, has a 233.5 over-under, one of the highest on the slate. And I misspoke earlier. Actually, Indiana and the Lakers have the highest at 238. So Chicago, Utah is second at 236. But anyway, Phoenix and Sacramento. Phoenix favored by 1, 233.5 over-under. Jay Crowder's out for Phoenix, as is Cam Johnson and Chris Paul. And it looks like Sacramento doesn't have anybody on their injury report, so they're fully healthy. For this game on the Phoenix side, I like DeAndre Ayton. He's 7,700 on DraftKings, 8,000 on FanDuel, $29 in Yahoo. He had 66 and 50 fantasy points his last 2 games against the Jazz and the Pistons. So I really like DeAndre Ayton in this matchup. And then on the Kings, I like De'Aaron Fox. He is, let me see real quick, 9,300 on DraftKings. He's only projected for 0.3% ownership, so super low owned. He's so 9,300 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel, and he is $37 on Yahoo. So, pretty decent price, good matchup for him. And I think this is a solid spot for De'Aaron Fox. And that's pretty much it for this game. I still like Herter a little bit, but not as much as I have earlier this year. And so we will move on to the last game, which is the 10:30 p.m. start time, the Indiana Pacers and the Los Angeles Lakers. We have Los Angeles favored by 4, has the highest over-under, as I mentioned a second ago, at 238. Chris Duarte is questionable, as is Andrew Nembhard, and Daniel Theis is out for the Pacers. For the Lakers, we have both LeBron and Anthony Davis questionable. What else is new? And then Patrick Beverley is out. I like Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. If Miles Turner is out, I like him. If Anthony Davis is out, I like Miles Turner for the Pacers. And then on the Lakers side, I like how Lonnie Walker's been looking lately, not just against the Spurs, but he's been looking pretty good in general. And then either of LeBron or AD, whichever one sits, if one of them sits, they're one of the top plays on the slate for me. So that is a look at this slate tonight, this 10-game slate. Before we leave, does anyone have any other questions? Kevin Porter Jr. or Bruce Brown? I would definitely say Bruce Brown. Kevin Porter Jr., I've looked at his stats in this matchup, and he's really struggled in this matchup against the Nuggets. So I would lean towards Bruce Brown. What else? Oh, Boom Fantasy. So let's take a look and see, because they didn't have, when I looked earlier, they didn't have all the plays up. So they probably do now, because it's been a couple hours since I looked at that. 1 second here. All right. So for Boom Fantasy, I like Karl Anthony Towns over 35.5 PRA. I mentioned how he's had some really monster games against the Wizards, so I like that spot for him. And then the other play that I like quite a bit tonight is going to be, where is it at? the only way that Oklahoma City is going to stay in this game against the Pelicans is going to be if SGA has a big night. So I'm going to go with over 30.5 points for SGA tonight against New Orleans. So those are going to be my two plays, the Karl Anthony Towns PRA and the SGA over 30.5 points. My top play tonight is going to be Karl Anthony Towns would probably be it if Embiid sits. If Embiid plays, he might be my top play. And then value play. For value, I really like, where is it? Devontae Graham, if he starts. So if he starts, then he would be my value play. And then as an alternate to him, I would say probably, let's see, who would be my other value that I would like in this slate? I would probably go with Gary Harris. I think he's a good value play as well. Grant Williams or John Collins. That's all going to depend on if Clint Capella is ruled out. If Clint Capella plays, then I'd probably go with Grant Williams. But if Clint Capella is ruled out, then I definitely would favor John Collins. All right, guys. Well, I know we had a little bit of an abbreviated podcast with Coach unable to make it today. And like I said, hopefully he'll be back tomorrow with Deb, and they'll break down tomorrow night's NBA slate. Hope everybody has a great night tonight. We'll also have our NFL lineups for Monday Night Football with the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those lineups should be posted around 7:50 Eastern. So hope everybody has a great night. Let's crush it in NBA and NFL. And we'll be back again tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS and Boom Fantasy. Thank you.